America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, you call the roll.
Massey. Here. Councilmember Rizzuto.
Here.
Councilmember Scarta.
Here.
Councilmember Tadrick.
Here.
Council President Bucieri.
Here. And we have a presentation. I believe that's going to be up behind us here. Is it also going to be on this screen? If not, we'll go in the audience.
It should, I mean, we should be able to share the screen, so you should be able to see it.
Okay, if not, council members can just go sit in the audience if they.
I'm going to go out in front.
Okay. Mr. Rizzuto had a presentation about. Do you want me to turn down the lights a little?
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tina.
Good evening. The purpose of the presentation is to update you or actually provide an opportunity for some questions and dialogue on a project which was introduced much earlier to the council, probably back in 2017, 2018. And it is a band shell that I am proposing that township have constructed as a memorial to our Vietnam veterans, and it be called the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Band Shell, and it be dedicated to them. First slide.
Hold on for 1 second. Sorry, I'm just, I have to join the webinar and then,
Oh, okay.
sorry.
Sorry, I got ahead of you. Oh, there.
Okay. I shared my screen, Donna.
Can you unshare yours and then I need to share?
Yes. Okay.
Sorry. No, it's fine. I just need you to go to the screen sharing like options underneath.
Okay. Am I doing advanced sharing or multiple participants?
Advanced sharing. And just share.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Good, Donna. Thank you.
As you can see, I call it Vernon's welcome home. It's a particular phrase that some people might want to know what makes it so special. And I think comment that I can bring to mind is back in the late 70s, 69, 70, I was traveling to Chicago's O'Hare Airport. And I was traveling there on business, and that happened to be during the height of the Tet Offensive, and a number of veterans were on their way home. And I saw a veteran wheeling his buddy in a wheelchair. And as he was coming by, there were some groups of people there, youngsters, young men, and they began to scream out, "Baby killer, baby killer, baby killer." And I intervened as best as I could by simply saying, "I don't think that's appropriate," but they just blew it off. it brings to mind the fact that this is perhaps one of the only groups of our veterans that have never really received a formal welcome home in terms of a ticker tape parade or a formal recognition of the job that they did because of being such a contentious conflict, a contentious war. So I think this is a way of Vernon recognizing what they have been through and what they have done. Next slide, please. The proposed band shell is going to be in wood construction, keeping with the township thematic. It's an octagonal base off of an octagonal base. The size of it can be anywhere from 45 to 65 feet across, depending upon the cost implications, which we're still waiting to hear about. It's elevated on a cement pad for easier viewing, and it'll have the availability of exterior and interior lighting for evening performances, thus making it available to so many different demographics. It'll have dressing rooms and/or storage. Those are the two areas on the side, the left and the right. And because of its veneer finish, it'll have an ease of maintenance that would probably not be seen in some other finishes. The structure is not one that is seen in many places. A lot of them have the traditional look, which is basically a clamshell flipped upside down, which are much, much more expensive. This, I think, will fit in nicely with our town thematic, such as the Adirondack looks, where we have had our other businesses conform to, and even at the proposed site, I'm sure it'll do very, very nicely over there. Next slide, please. The economic benefits to the township. To try and get a dollar value and applicable to this becomes very, very difficult. But there are definite advantages to having this. It does provide a community identity. The community identity, I hearken back to the time when we were looking to develop schools in our community. And people were wondering why we kept putting all of our schools in the center of town when they could have been sited either on mountain or on the other side of town. And it became obvious that with a township of 70 square miles, we needed to be able to bring ourselves together, not increase any type of division. And to me, this is essentially the same type of situation. Having this particular facility and structure cited where are we going to propose it will be in fact a major help in bringing our township together. And I call it a bridge through the ages with use from youngsters to seniors. Certainly the fact that this type of a structure will drive the economic values in our community with music and helps provide revenues to our community. One of the things that we can look to is that any number of times where we've had these pickup band contests, band presentations, for example, on the old Ricky farm, there's been any number of bands there, but even a much, much greater number of youngsters who came to visualize, to view it, and to support it. And why not better than have these people do this at our proposed site? It establishes a musical arts advisory board to help drive its use and research future funding for trending programs. This is something that I think would help in terms of talking about how we scheduling programs and the type of programs that would be scheduled. And these would probably work in conjunction or through our recreation department. And it encourages a broader support from the musical and art community in our town. And by that, you're talking about musicians, you're talking about art, you're talking about dance, you're talking about choral, any number of activities, which I think become a very, very welcome form of passive recreation. And it will help to drive the growth of musical tourism with various musical and arts programs, that is concerts, competitive band presentations, plays, recitals, and theatrical presentations. And besides that, it will provide a home for an engaged and receptive audience. I think once this facility is available, we will look to a demand, an increasing demand that we are going to find very, very enjoyable, and I think very, very lucrative in terms of potential revenues from outside sources. Next slide, please. The site that I'm asking be considered is the Maple Grange Park. It's right below the concession stand. You'll see a picture of the concession stand there. And at field level, it's on the Great Hill. There are a number of advantages to having it in those two areas. Next slide, please. Maple Grange is the center of the community's recreational program. It's basically the heart of it. When you go there at night, you'll see any number of activities from lacrosse to sports, to cheerleading, to baseball, to, you know, and I think it's much timely effort to look at possibly seeing if we can expand the use of that park for people who are there, such as our senior citizens. The Memorial Band Shell is designed for use by all age groups, and its accessibility to provide is ADA compliant, and so necessary for one of its primary users, our senior citizens. If you look at the pictures of the Great Lawn there, it's a very level area. It's something that people can walk carrying portable seating, place them down, view the program, and take it away. And it's something that I think will have a tremendous effect on having people looking forward to come to these programs. Its availability of electrical power, there's minimal background traffic, so essential in promoting a band shell, because the purpose of that particular structure is to avoid having ambient sound coming in from other areas. It's a central location, center of the town. It's bounded by Route 94 and Route 517, and the potential for increased growth and parking does exist. The level seating area has minimal elevation of the band shell for satisfactory viewing, because we're going to be elevating the floor of the band shell at least a couple of steps, so people will be able to see into it, especially with the interior lighting. The restroom facilities are available at field level and also at the concession level. And the field level is also available for handicapped seating and emergency services, which can be very readily accessible for anybody should anything, God forbid, happen. Now, this particular structure is not a complicated structure in terms of construction. It comes in a kit form, and it can be brought together in construction by the people that we buy it, that we purchase it from, or with the possible use of our own workers, depending on how it's to be sourced. There are certain parts of the construction that the seller would like to maintain control over because of the warranty effect and the effort to provide the best possible response for sound amplification. Mr. Vernon, thank you. At this point, all costs are approximations based on engineering estimates. Total cost estimation would be approximately $400,000 plus planned labor participation by DPW. That amount is to be determined, and I missed that one stupid typo. It's okay, what are you going to do? Final cost would be developed after specifications are approved prior to bidding. The structure is depreciable project, so a lifespan can be imputed based on the projected interest rates, hence the benefit of bands. That way we can be looking at funding these on an annual rate with the eye towards looking at the trend of cost of money, and the actual cost of this on a annual basis is not that significant in terms of yearly cost. Using a $400 cost with $125,000 cash down payment and $275 in debt financing with bond anticipation notes, the cost to the average home per year would be $3.43 per year or 29 cents per month, based upon current interest rates, which these interest rates were to begin a downward trajectory, this would probably even be a little bit less. Next slide, please. I call this initially a unity project and tried to raise some funds from local businesses. To that end, we have raised some dollars. Our loyal business supporters, Crystal Springs, $10,000 grant for Mr. Mulvihill. Mountain Creek, a $10,000 grant from Mr. Joe Hessian, and KKG Corporation, a $5,000 grant from Mr. Kaufman and his corporation. I also contacted R.S. Phillips, among others. These are the people that have responded. In-kind donations estimated at $3,000 based upon the type of construction that is going to be used. They pledge, steel rebar for cement, brackets for supports, any type of steel items that could be applied to this particular construction, saving on the construction costs. Private donations are from private community pledges. We have individual pledges of $3,000 and donations from an outside source, actually from Mr. McGowan's family. John McGowan is a former Vietnam vet, of $500. And I think that while this is not something we are set up to do on a regular basis, townships just don't do donations for donation in kind like this, we can encourage it by any type of programs that we are going to be running through this band shell, and we can perhaps designate some of those funds towards the maintenance and actual construction costs. Next slide, please. Why now? Well, Vernon needs to develop a cultural base to recognize the passive recreational demands of its growing senior citizen population. Not only its senior citizens, but its youth, for different types of music that they're looking to enjoy. Our much younger children for the recitals that they would be having there and be holding at this particular site. And, I hearken back to my good friend, Dick Wetzel, who said, for God's sakes, let us be known for something else besides sports. Let us, show that we have a heart for some of the cultural events that will take place in this township. And Vernon will benefit from the communal support of the varying programs that will be presented to the community. And I think as these programs are presented, there's be a greater demand, a greater thought given to the types of programs that can be shown, from movies for our youngsters Friday night to something a little more esoteric, such as some chamber music on a Saturday afternoon. The Memorial Bandshell will provide township with a strong sense of pride in recognizing its commitment to the arts. One of the things that I continually hear is, Pat, why can't we be more like Warwick? You've all heard it, but we're not Warwick. We're simply not Warwick. Warwick was a township developed many, many years ago as part of the Saratoga trunk. People used to come up from New York City and stop on their way to Saratoga Springs for the summer races. And they would stay there as part of their stopover. Hence, if you go through Warwick, you'll see a lot of big homes. Those homes weren't built because people wanted bigger homes. They were built because they had many bedrooms and they took in lodgers for that particular period of time. On the other hand, Vernon has a very strong background in agriculture. One of our greatest claims to fame is the amount of times that George Washington went through here and had his own camp here. And we also have our own recreational community in the sense that it is based on our ski areas. There's nothing we can do in terms of changing. That was something that was done so many years ago, back into the late 50s, 60s, when this was first started. But I think what we can do is to look to supplement these activities with something that gives us a different look, a different calling, and allows people to say, here's something that we can be proud of. And here's something that I think we should really begin to explore and explore as soon as possible, because when we do this, we will see a timely benefit for these particular activities and what they bring to our community. It will be Vernon's recognition of the Vietnam veterans and their powerful achievement of a place of final rest for their fallen brothers and sisters. If you go down Route 94 and you see the cemetery that they have constructed next to the Votech School, and the fact that that started right here in this room, in this very room, the council gave them its assurances that they would be able to use our legal services to help them out, and that we were able to provide some startup funds for the project that they really wanted to take to the next level. And they've done that. And in doing so, it becomes the only other cemetery in the state of New Jersey, other than one in Camden, that is available for interment of our veterans without having to travel 2.5 hours away. And I think it's a very, very strong way of saying thank you to these men and these women who have done such a great job in making that particular objective come to life. And lastly, why have them wait any longer? Why not now? Why not recognize the work that they've done and the fact that they are appreciated, and the fact that this particular project with this dedication will help to become part of our community's identity. And I think it's something we really should consider strongly. And I ask that we move on to the next step, which would be, approving some type of funding for this particular project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rizzuto. Any council members have any questions or comments for Mr. Rizzuto? I mean, we can add the discussion item later, but if you have something now you'd like to comment or ask.
I know he did 4 tours in Vietnam. So Vietnam does have meaning in my family. And I like the idea of there being a memorial for them. My only reserve is I would like to see this go to a referendum. Find out how the citizens of Vernon feel. Do they want this? And if so, let them vote on it. That's all I have to say about it.
Mr. Sparta?
No, I think it'd be a nice project for Vernon. Matter of fact, I was over at my aunt and uncle's house a few weeks ago, and they said, "Hey, where's that band shell going to be built?" Because they're one of the people that go around to other towns to watch these concerts that are put on and stuff. So I do think it would be utilized. And I do think it's going to be utilized by multiple generations, and I do think it has the potential to be a revenue producer for us if it's promoted correctly. So
I agree with Mr. Sparta. I've been for this project since the beginning. I think it's needed. I think it's long overdue. The idea has been bounced around for at least 10 years that I can think of, if not longer. We seem to be able to find the money to do other things at will. So I think this is a small amount in comparison to some of the other projects that have happened.
I am one of those people who will go to other towns to hear concerts. I do enjoy that. So I definitely see the value and benefit in that. I wish we could have some basis of, a rec doing like a short summer concert series. Just, without a band shell, just to kind of see what the interest would be, to kind of gauge that, kind of dip our toe in the water before we commit to a project that could potentially be almost $500,000. So I think I would probably want a little more information, maybe work with the Sussex County Arts Council to see if they have any guidance or direction as to the appetite in this area and what kind of historical data they might have with the concert series that I think Sparta puts on. Anything and just so we have that basis before we commit to spending that money.
I've already been in contact with a number of institutions, including our own school system. And if you recall that they've had a number of presentations, they called them Jazz at the Flats.
Yes.
And those have always been very, very well attended. And I think that this particular project, the longer we hold it off, the less benefit we get from it, because the less it's not going to be there, to be available. But if we look at the townships, i.e. Ridgewood, Franklin Lakes, and these just now starting construction on one, and some of the other ones, I believe Westwood, a few other townships, the demand, the use, the attendance has been very, very strong. It's generally on a weekend, and it does very well. People look forward to it, and you begin to look for what other types of projects that can be put on display there, so to speak. And if you're going to look at something like this as a proving point, you know, nothing ever starts the way it ends in terms of being very successful. There's always a learning curve, an acceptance curve. As people become aware of it, as people become more demanding of it in terms of what they want to hear, and people become more supportive of it in terms of actually making a plan to come out on a particular evening or a particular day and seeing what is going on and supporting it in that fashion. To me, I think what we're doing is we're simply prolonging what I consider to be it's almost like a home run. And, you know, I think that were we to do this, we would be very, very pleasantly surprised. It's not something that I've given a little thought. It's something that I've given a lot of thought to.
Any other comments or questions? We'll move on to the next agenda item, public comments. The public comment is members of the public who wish to comment on something on the agenda. Agenda items only, and it's limited to 3 minutes per person. May I have a motion to open the floor to public comments?
Motion.
Motion made by Ms. Stasi, may I have a second?
Second.
Second made by Mr. Tadrick. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Floor is open. Is there anyone in person here who wishes to address the council? No? Okay. Anybody virtually? Marcy?
Yes, Jessica Palladini.
I do see.
Ms. Palladini, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Good evening. Thank you. Mr. Rizzuto, well done. Great presentation, great research. As you know, I support your band shell. I have supported it for some 6 or 7 years now that you proposed it. And I also want to say tonight that the Vernon Township Historical Society will also donate money for your band shell. And we will also use the next round of the federal grant to apply for money for your band shell. I just want to say, as far as Mr. Stotzi is concerned, she never said that we should put the pump track or the trail on referendum. She never said that we should put the turf fields on referendum or anything else for that matter on referendum. We've had so many projects shoved down our throats and forced on us of $1 million plus that only a small handful of people in our town will be using. I certainly don't think 27 cents, as you said, per month is too much for anybody to give up. So I do applaud you on that, and I hope you succeed. I just want to remind you of one thing that some of you keep forgetting. If you have the support for this project, put a resolution on the table, and all you need is a motion and a second, and it's done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Palladini,
Can
for your support.
Can I ask Danelle a question about what Mrs. Palladini said? Or no?
we finish public comments and then?
Yeah.
Is there anyone else virtually, Marcy?
I don't see any other hands up.
Okay, all right. Can I have a motion to close the floor to public comment? Moved by Mr. Sparta, second by Mr. Tadrick. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No? Go ahead, Mr. Sparta.
If we were to keep bans on this and then Mrs. Palladini was able to get a grant, how does that affect the financing? Because we probably apply for the financing before any grant would be received, correct?
Correct. There are ways you can word a bond ordinance. You need a bond order. There are ways that you can word a bond ordinance too that states where you can include grant funding or financing, so you can like easily take care of it that way. Otherwise, I can speak to bond counsel about how it could be paid off in advance. We could do something where a grant comes in and we use that for possible debt service, but I would need to check with bond counsel how that would have to be worded.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have a couple discussion items. So we have two ordinances that are going to be introduced later on the agenda. So in case there's any questions about those ordinances, we have them as discussion items up here in the beginning of the agenda. The first one was on last week, we talked about it. There was some additional information provided by Ms. Bright, ordinance 2314, capital ordinance, providing for various improvements of the township of Vernon for the sum of $340,000. So anyone have any questions?
Natalie, I'm gonna recuse myself for this.
Okay, I don't think you have to.
I-
Wait,
I think I do.
I thought,
There's a potential item on there that a company I sit on the board of directors could be voting on.
okay, all right, I didn't think they were, but that's okay, that's fine. Does anyone have any questions about that capital ordinance before it gets introduced? I think we all received the supporting information for the different projects from the DPW, from some technology equipment, fire safety. Several, there's also some infrastructure, bathrooms, sink showers, that type of stuff. So want to make sure everyone had a chance to look
I
at
would
that.
just like to say that, as I had requested originally, that items that are necessary for the safety and function of Vernon should be separated out from the non-essential items. Having just approved a budget that required us to reduce our reserves for the second year in a row, I believe that it's fiscally irresponsible to bond for 2.4 million at this time. History of excessive spending, which can be only promote significant tax increase in the future, is what has brought Vernon to this state. So I would ask, what is it an appropriate time to start establishing a healthier financial future for Vernon? I mean, we just approved almost $1 million in bonding, and now they want another 2.4 plus the 300 from the reserve. You know, too much spending, and somebody's got to start putting some kind of stops on some of these things. Do we need all these things that are in this?
I think that was the question that Ms. Bright answered at the previous meeting, that there was several projects requested,
Yes,
and that these are the ones after review with the department heads that were needs. And there's a balance.
it's an interpretation of what I'm saying is we now have $3.5 million worth of bonding in a month. What's gonna come in 2 weeks? Another request for more bonding? I mean, something's got to be done to stop. This is not the way to run a town with all this bonding. It's just putting us in a weaker position than we already are.
May I comment, Madam President? I understand your concern for excessive debt financing. There is a school of thought that says we must pay as we go. That would be fine if you were part of a township that had significant ratables and was not really basically a bedroom community with some strong ratables, but we're not.
I know.
But we also happen to have a significant amount of roads. And we also happen to have a significant need for fire safety because of the spread out nature of our properties. And to have a thought that in order to maintain these particular structural assets, this infrastructure, that we must do it on a pay-as-you-go cash basis, kind of puts to, it belies the ability of a township of our size to stay in business.
I understand that.
Okay,
I-
because that particular availability of debt financing is what helps a township like ours, like other townships like ours, be able to provide its citizens with the necessities that they require. Were you to go on a pay-as-you-go basis let's say you were going to finance all of your fire engines, your fire trucks, right now, at a cost of, Mayor, if I said $4 or $5 million, would I be out of line?
Would not be.
Would not be. So now we would be taking $4 or $5 million, paying for that. And guess what? The people that live in Vernon right now would be responsible for it. But the people that are coming in 5 years, 3 years, 10 years, 15 years will get the benefit of those assets without having to pay $1. And that's the reason.
You're saying
No,
that.
allow me to finish. That's the reason why there is this type of financing. Were you to carry this over, okay, into what would be its logical conclusion, roads would have to be paid for on an annual basis. And with the amount of roads that we have, you'd only be able to get so far. Our schools in 1975 to 1990, when I was involved with the Board of Education, we were putting up 2 schools at one time. We were funding for teachers every month. There was money in the budget. No one knew where it was because when we went into negotiations, we had to keep that kind of secret. Otherwise, people would say, oh, we want some of that money for raises. And that's when our teachers were making less than $14,000 a year. And none of those people, if we were to do this on a pay-as-you-go basis, would have had these beautiful schools that our children are going to school in right now.
I understand what you're saying, but if you look at this bond, we're only paying 1.2 million of it towards roads. The rest is all
Rolling stock, some other areas,
2 million is all they're putting towards bonds, towards road repairing, paving the roads.
you have,
The rest of it is amenities. Another ambulance, another vacuum truck, another,
I wouldn't call that an amenity. An amenity is the band cell. I do disagree with you there. I mean, we
okay, I may have
we
used.
need a vac truck.
Point is that of the $2.4 million, only 1.2 million is for roads.
Yes.
and what,
This is all improvements to property, equipment, and such that.
But improvements that have to occur, Maple Grange parking lot is a mess. We'll be
And yes,
liable.
and that should,
right? Like,
and I'm
it
saying,
needs to be paved.
and I am saying that needs to be done. The roads and the
Back truck.
improvements for the parking lot, yes.
We
But
need
What
a
I'm
back
saying is, do we need to fund all vehicles at one time now when we're running at a deficit in our budget?
we're not running at a deficit in our budget.
We just took $2 million out of our reserves.
We took
because we didn't want an increase.
a amount of close to $2 million, maybe a little bit more from our budget.
Yeah.
From the fund balance, okay? That brought it back to a level that was last year. Now, let me ask you something. Why should the township be the people's bank? What are we saving the money for? To look good for the auditors? To look good for, for people who are saying, oh my God, you have a big fund balance? The whole idea of a fund balance is to preserve yourself for an emergency. And yet the biggest emergencies, and I used to say that when I was on the Board of Education, suppose a boiler, guess what? They're insured. Suppose a roof broke, and it did happen. It was insured. I mean, any number of those things are taken care of via our insurance carriers, our risk managers. Now you're going to say, well, maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves. Ms. Bright, what is the basis for a comparison for our, the amount of money that we're borrowing?
I'm not sure exactly what you're asking, like.
What is what is it, our debt finance ratio?
Our finance, I just filed the supplemental debt statement today and 1.038%.
1.038%.
In 2018, I think it was 1.3 something.
Okay.
So we've
We brought it down.
decreased substantially and also increased our cash financing.
Right, and where would we be in trouble? If we were to
3.5%.
3.5%?
3.5% is a statutory limit. You're allowed to go above that, but you have to go out, I believe, to referendum.
What rate were we at when our bond rating was reduced?
Bond rating wasn't
It was
reduced.
reduced a couple.
It was not reduced.
Never reduced.
Bond rating was never reduced.
I don't know where you.
Negative outlook in 2018, with everything that was going on with Mountain Creek, and Mountain Creek is our largest taxpayer and the largest MUA user, so they decreased our negative outlook.
It's a big.
However,
To do over the fact that our bond ratings were, so
it's all public record, so you,
they are misquoted then?
no, it was not misquoted. They gave us a negative outlook. So it went from a neutral outlook to a negative outlook, which was not good in 2018.
Okay, so we did receive a reduction in our position.
No,
Reduction in position, it's a negative outlook. There was no change in our bond rate.
Have put that out on our bonding.
no, because your rating is.
It had no,
You bond that.
it had no effect on our bonding, so we didn't bond at that time. Between 2018 and 2020,
Let's say it was right now, what impact would it have when you have a negative outlook? What impact does it have on the township?
we don't have a negative outlook right now.
I know we don't. I'm asking you what impact.
It could affect it if we went out for bonding, but we're not going out for bonds.
Yes, you are.
No, we're not.
You're going
Out
out.
for bonds,
Yeah.
issuing a bond ordinance, that's not going out for bonds. You have to go out for a bond sale. That's an ordinance. There's a lot of paperwork that goes with that. We did a refunding bond sale in 2020, which we had fantastic reviews for that. The only reason why we didn't really change, other than they removed our negative outlook in 2020, which was incredible during COVID. We had really good, I don't want to say reviews, but basically feedback from Moody's on where we've come from 2018 to 2020. We went out for regular bonds in 2021 to take care of all of our debt service because the interest rates were so low.
So I'm the only one who sits up here and feels that we need to start controlling a little tighter our financial future, I guess. Okay,
I don't think that's accurate, Mr. Sassy. I think
Well-
there's things that, there's a balance between being smart with your money and watching your spending, but not letting the infrastructure of your town degrade and not providing your ambulance squad and your volunteers and the necessities to keep our community safe.
we just gave them a new ambulance. We just gave them 2 new fire trucks. So, now they want another ambulance and what is,
I would say most of the things are probably statute required as far as what their equipment is. Is that correct? No.
So just to be clear, we bought a new ambulance for Glenwood Pochuck. This ambulance is actually a refurbishment. So they're moving, there's 2 parts to the ambulance. You have like the chassis, right? Then you have the box that goes on it. They are refurbishing that. So they are moving from one to another to save money. Unfortunately, because of the cost of everything, we went from a new ambulance a couple of years ago for Glenwood Pochuck at 195,000 to just like refurbishing at 180. But that's to replace a very old ambulance, as was the other one.
and how old is the ambulance that's being restored here?
I don't know the exact age, but there's a certain time period. It's got to be at least 7 or 8 years old for them to move.
And where will this ambulance be stationed?
It's Vernon ambulance,
This will go to Vernon.
correct?
And the the vacuum truck, we already have one. Now we're buying another one.
Sewer vac truck? We don't have a sewer vac truck.
What is it that I see on the roads all the time?
I'm a street sweeper. I'm not sure.
Sweeper, okay. And what is the need for a vacuum truck? How will that be used? And
So a sewer vac truck is used to clean storm drains.
yeah,
So we're required by law moving forward for the MS4 permitting that came into effect this year, to have all our storm drains cleaned and visited. I think they have to be cleaned annually. And that has not been kept up. It wasn't a requirement in the past, and now it is.
That was the new requirement you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, the MS,
That would require, yes, yeah.
correct. And this is actually, so this is a used sewer vac truck. That's what we've allocated for.
Okay.
A new one's around 600,000.
Really not a vac truck. It's really more for, it's not a vacuum like cleaning the.
It's both, no, it's both.
Or
It's both the water in, water out kind of thing.
cleaning out
Yes.
the street sewer.
Correct. And a portion of it's being shared by the MUA. We had discussions with the MUA at the end of 2022 to pay towards this. So MUA would only need like a trailer mounted version, but that won't fit the needs now that we're with MS4 permitting requirements. It won't fit the needs of the township. So the MUA is still paying a portion of it because they will use it. Just obviously not as much as the township will.
Okay.
And the single axle truck, what is need for that?
Those are the trucks that the really large ones that they have at the DPW.
So they're,
Whether it's plowing, whether it's sanding, whether it's,
so
they
it,
use it for hauling asphalt.
so it can be a dual purpose, you know? So is that what the extra equipment?
Additional equipment for outfitting vehicles, those are for our F550s, our 350s, our 450s that we use for plowing as well. So usually the outfitting cost of one 550 is about $40,000. So I put a little bit extra in there for cushion in case it's a little bit more, but that includes all the hydraulics, the dump and everything else that goes on to a 550.
Okay,
And that's on the program we have with Enterprise.
Yeah.
so again, it comes down to, you know, providing us with the bills is not an explanation of what the need is. So by giving us this explanation, things make sense. But how would I know by reading an invoice what that truck and what that other thing is for? That's, I had sent you an email requesting the information is what were the needs. And, you know, I received back the invoices, but no need. So now that you've explained what each of these items is for, it does make sense that it's for important maintenance of our community. So again, I'm gonna.
I did reply to your email and you said thank you.
Barbie?
I did reply to your email.
Yes, you did, but you didn't give the explanation. You just included you didn't explain what the need was, what each item was for. You just gave the bills. And it makes more sense when you explain, okay, now we understand what additional equipment is and what the back truck is needed for. You didn't say that it's required because there's a new regulation and that we must now start doing this. So more information is always better from my point of view. So the more information that you can provide us prior to meetings about what it is we're doing. I realize you're busy. I understand that, but we have to do a job, and to make a decision based on a listing of figures in a sheet doesn't help to make those decisions easily. That's all. And the last thing that I really question is the lighting at Senior Field. Now, I know you said the Senior Field is the field where the kids play Little League. I never knew it was called Senior Field in all the years I lived here. I thought it was Veterans Memorial Field. $375,000 to replace the lighting over there. And I have a serious question as to, is that really necessary? I drive by there all the time. There's always lights on.
So the
I
lighting.
know you said that, you know, they need to be replaced in your email, but.
So the lighting's over 30 years old there. A couple of years ago, we had issues with the actual electrical box there. It was so bad that the electrician that came out wouldn't even touch it. So we had to replace that box. The lighting has been on the radar for this township for the past 3 years. We put it into a 4-year program to replace lighting at each individual field because totaling it's over $1 million to do all that lighting. So the idea was to have the funding for it and then to go out to bid this year. We've been working with Corey to firm up all the specs on that so we can go out to bid all 3-in-1 because we'll get a better price doing 3-in-1 than just the individual ones.
So are you saying that $375,000 really will be the down payment to go out?
No. And as I explained in my email, they've been funded for the past 3 years. So we did a little bit of funding each year to get us to the point where we can go out to bid for all 3 of those.
So what do you anticipate would be the amount that would be required to be bonded for this?
It's in the bond ordinance.
The three
For
hundred.
this one, it's 350, for this one is $357,000.
Okay,
And the useful life on that is, I believe, 20 or 25 years.
that's the amount that would be required is the 357. Okay,
For the senior field portion.
Right.
It was previously bonded in other bond ordinances.
okay, all right. Thank you for the explanation.
Anyone else have any other questions?
Oh, I'm good.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Janelle, for that explanation. I appreciate it. All right, we have another discussion item, council meeting procedures. I did ask Marcy to put the ordinances that relate to our council meeting, procedure. There's ordinance 2215. That's procedures governing council meetings, and there's resolution 21204. So probably everyone is aware that finally our governor has said we're no longer in a COVID state of emergency. I think for most of us, it's been over for quite a while. So we had a lot of these procedures in place because of COVID. So I wanted to have an opportunity to have a discussion about the virtual hybrid option that we're currently utilizing. There's been some people that have council members and community members that have expressed different views regarding that. One of the views that has been brought up was the technical issues we had in the beginning, and we would lose out, internet, and we had to stop our meeting because we had noticed it as a hybrid meeting, technical difficulties, virtual interaction with, via either council or the public, just, different topics that we never had before COVID. So I wanted to just start a discussion and want to take a temperature check and see what the other council members' opinions are of those procedures, any input or potential adjustments.
I'd like to make a suggestion.
Mhm.
There's been a lot of comment, a lot of dissatisfaction expressed from people in recent situations requiring our Board of Education. I just don't think that this is the appropriate time for this to come into play, and I would ask that this be tabled until perhaps another 2 to 3 months when things calm down and we can get a more sanguine approach on something like this, where it's evaluated strictly on the basis of what we can do, and what we can't do. And secondly, at this point, if I'm not mistaken, were somebody to violate the codicils on this particular area that we're putting in terms of missing X number of meetings, there isn't really anything that can be done. We're all elected officials, and there's no way you're going to be able to throw any of us off for not being here.
Oh, I don't, yeah.
No,
I don't-
so I mean, it's
don't
kind of
intend
like,
that, yeah.
why are we bothering to even examine that particular area, a situation rather? So I would ask that we table this situation for further discussion.
Anybody else want to hit the pause and discuss it later?
I just would like to say that since we,
Motion to table takes precedence over all other motions and requires immediate action. Like for the,
I didn't.
No, I didn't really, looking for a discussion item, because
Yes.
it's not a resolution.
Well, this is a discussion item. We're just having a
okay,
discussion of this. There's no motion to make any amendments. There's no
all right, okay,
proposed
all right.
resolution.
So there's, all
You're
right,
just talking about it, what you want to do in the future.
I just, so, and I mean, we can talk about it later. That's fine too.
I would just like to say that the council issues the public with the legislation, and that I believe that a council member should lead by example. And if the resolution so says, attending meetings missing no more than 2 and be on screen at all time, then I believe that council members should follow that.
Well,
Oh, well, but that's not setting a very good example to your constituents.
I'm not begging for votes up here. I'm not running again.
Okay,
I'm not.
doesn't matter. You
I'm
have,
not playing to the voters in November.
but you have a
And I
responsibility
haven't
now.
missed one meeting, not one. I've been on Zoom when I haven't been here. I have not missed one meeting.
The ordinance.
Where's the repercussions for it?
That's not the answer.
Oh, that is the answer.
Okay, well,
It's a bogus resolution. So you can look out now
Responsibility when you
because,
accept it.
hey, you know what?
Position is to abide by the
Yeah.
town ordinance.
So change the ordinance, change resolution. Go for it.
Then,
we can, you can
We need
discuss it later. Do you have any comments, Mr. Sparta?
Just one. I don't have any problem with live streaming. I mean, even
Mm-hmm.
when we were on the Board of Ed, we instituted that many years before it was before COVID hit. And I have no problem with people,
Mhm.
calling in. We are, as Mr. Rizzuto mentioned early on, we are a bedroom community, and I know there's many nights when I get home at 5:30, I really don't want to come down here to a meeting. So it is advantageous for us to have that ability. The only issue I have with the ordinance is that the virtual option with it being advertised that way. I don't like the idea of that being a mandatory part of the advertisement, where if for some reason we can't offer the virtual part, we have to cancel the meeting. I firmly believe that if we had an issue in the town where Highland Lakes and Berry Lakes was out without electricity, I don't think we could still have our meeting, because then those people do not have access to it.
It was advertised.
That
It
came
was
up once
advertised as
before.
such, and
Yeah, that came-
that's a concern. I think us and the public set the night aside for the meeting, and to have it canceled for that is, I think that's a little tough, where there's no more pandemic emergency in place anymore, so people can come to the meeting in public. That's always an option. And, we can't control everything that goes on in the town as far as infrastructure and utility and stuff like that. And I mean, we had it when we had our meeting in February virtually because of snowstorm. Somebody's internet went down. It was all of a sudden it was like,
Yeah.
we can't have the meeting anymore because one person's internet went down. So that's the only area I would question on it as to go off of what Mr. Stassi says. Honestly, if it comes down to a person being on Zoom, a council member being on Zoom or missing a meeting, as a taxpayer, I want them to be on Zoom. I don't care if it's 2 times, 10 times, 20 times. I'd rather have them participate through Zoom at least, if that's the only option that's available to them. So the ordinance doesn't have any bite to it. Whether you're elected or appointed, there's nothing you could do. It's kind of I think the cart was put before the horse when that was put in there. So they're the only comments I have. Thank you.
I have
I'll
one
make a
question.
statement. And you can go back in the record, it's in the record. I was one of the first people when I got on board to stop Zoom. And I was told, nope, not stopping Zoom. So if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. If the people can sit at home and eat chips and do whatever and watch the meeting, if I'm away, I'm not doing this a party somewhere. I'm actually away on government work. And actually, my job has a little more precedent in this place, to be honest with you. Straight up, I'm not gonna lie.
I'm not arguing with you.
So when I'm on Zoom, I'm away for work. That's why I'm on Zoom.
I would like to ask Josh the question as to the legality of if a vote is taken on Zoom. Is it contestable? Is it legal? Has that been addressed?
I'm not aware of any case addressing whether a council person's vote on Zoom is valid or invalid, but the reality is the town code allows council members to attend and participate via Zoom. So there should be, I can't see any reason to invalidate a vote just because of the medium by which the vote is expressed.
Okay. As long as it's legally okay.
I am.
That's right, Netflix letter.
I have been a supporter of the transparency that the virtual option offers. the Zoom, and I know you did talk about it, and I was one of the people who said that.
Absolutely not. You said.
I wanted to keep that
And if there wouldn't have, if
opportunity.
we would have stopped Zoom, I would have been at the mercy of not having Zoom.
Wanted to have the opportunity for community members to be able to watch the meetings virtually if they're not able to get here. Like Mr. Sparta said, people commute far, they have kids, activities. So having that option, they can put in their earbuds and cook dinner, watch it on their TV. So I do appreciate that. I understand the concern about losing, internet connection or electrical, coverage in parts of town and that implication. So maybe, as Mr. Rizzuto said, it's something we can talk about later. If we need to clean up these ordinances and resolutions, we can work with our attorney and, answer that, because that is, I think, a valid question. Mr. Zelinski, you don't have to answer it now, but.
No, I can, I'm happy to answer it. Actually, there
Okay.
are really two separate issues the council is discussing right now. One is whether the current notice for meetings this year says the meetings will be conducted in a hybrid fashion. Unless and until that notice is changed and a new notice is published, all meetings must be conducted in a hybrid fashion. You can do away with the hybrid fashion and council members can still attend the meeting via Zoom. Zoom is no different than a dial-in telephone line. You're allowed, it is a means by which, for convenience, a council member who is not physically able to come can attend and participate in the meeting. So there are two different issues.
Okay, thank you for clearing that up. So we can revisit it, and if we need to clean up the resolutions, we can maybe, have some feedback, and Mr. Zelinski can offer us some later on.
Sure.
We can bring it, put it back on the agenda. Well, thank you for a lot of interesting discussion. Appreciate it. We'll move on to the next topic. On our agenda, we have our bills list. All council members received a copy of the bills list. Have you had a chance to review it? Are there any questions or comments regarding the bills list? Mr. Rizzuto?
No.
No? Mr. Patrick?
I just have one question.
Okay.
Find it kind of throw me.
Sorry, if you want,
No. No, I mentioned it to Brad. The library fund, we pay $1 million.
Library tax.
The
the
library
county
tax.
tax, probably a county tax. What line is it?
I'm trying to find it.
$1,000,000. It should be.
$1 million over a year.
It is 59,742.
Yeah, yep.
Second quarter.
That's our
library.
county.
Yeah. There's a purpose tax, county purpose tax up at 3,637,000, then it's 263,964,65. Library.
Mhm.
Okay, there's county library and open space. There's county, general purpose county, and then there's
Okay.
Library.
library, which handles all the libraries that
Okay.
there's, and then the county open space.
Oh, okay. I saw
So,
library and I'm like, okay.
so the lesson there is use the library because you're paying for it. It's a great place to go. Like I use it all the time. Take advantage of it. Any other questions, Mr. Sparta? Mr. Sassy?
No question.
No question, okay. We'll go to the next item on our agenda. We have minutes from our executive session of May 8th, 2023, and our regular meeting of May 8th, 2023. Everyone had a time to review the minutes. They have a motion to approve the May 8th, 2023
Done. Move,
executive
I'll move
session
it.
minutes and the May 8th, 2023 regular meeting.
move them
minutes.
both.
Moved by Mr. Tadrick. May I have a second? Second by Mr. Sassy. Roll call vote, please. Sassy?
Yes.
Udo?
Yes.
Councilmember Sparta?
Yes.
Councilmember Tadrick?
Yes.
Council President Bucieri? Yes. Motion carries. And we have our consent agenda. I will read through the resolutions, and when I'm done, if there's anything that any council members want to have removed to vote on separately, let me know. Resolution 23-137, approving a charitable solicitor's permit, Glenwood Pochuck Volunteer Ambulance Corps. Resolution 23-138, approving a solicitor's permit, Erica Rivera, Realty Empire. Resolution 23-139, resolution authorizing fireworks to be displayed on July 1st, 2023, with the rain date of July 2nd, 2023, within the township of Vernon. Resolution 23-140, refund for totally disabled veteran, block 361, lot 12, Wallace. Resolution 23-141, refund for totally disabled veteran, block 54, lot 2, Brennan. Resolution 23-142, refund for totally disabled veteran, block 510, lot 33, Santana. Resolution 23-143, refund for totally disabled veteran, block 462, lot 24, Coziel. Resolution 23-144, resolution authorizing copier equipment and accessories through Sourcewell National Cooperative 030-321-KON through Comica Minolta Business Solutions. Resolution 23-145, canceling taxes for total disabled veteran, block 68, lot 4, Jones. Resolution 23-146, refund for totally disabled veteran, block 68, lot 4, Jones. Resolution 23-147, authorizing approval of Sussex County contribution to the Vernon and Glenwood Pochuck Volunteer Ambulance Squads. Are there any resolutions that anyone wants to have removed?
23-138.
23-138. Go on that separately. Anything else? So let's, we'll vote on everything but 23-138 first, Marcy, and then we'll do that. The rest separate. Okay. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion.
Motion made by Mr. Stassi. May I have a second?
Second.
Second made by Mr. Sparta. Roll call vote.
Councilmember Stassi,
Yes.
Councilmember Rizzuto.
Yes.
Councilmember Sparta,
Yes.
Councilmember Tadrick.
Yes.
Council President Bustieri,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay. Resolution 23-138. You have a
I have a question.
question regarding that?
Why is this required? Never seen a real estate person before having to get a solicitor permit.
It's a,
She just submitted it or?
it's a solicitor's license that she submitted and went to the police for their investigation or background check, and she qualified.
So this is a solicitor's permit to knock on people's doors.
I don't know what she's going to do. I would assume so.
Well, what is it? So, yeah, let's take a look and see what it says. Let me pull it up 1 second. I'm sorry.
Doesn't say.
Mhm.
Her application doesn't specify
Just says real estate.
soliciting real estate.
Mhm.
So do we have do we have a ordinance regarding what a solicitor is allowed to do in town?
The solicitor goes around the town and solicit.
Yeah. Do we have like a code, do we have a code, like an ordinance dictating like hours of the day? Are they allowed to knock on people's doors? So
Yep.
we would need to abide by that code.
To abide by that. There are some lake communities that don't allow it.
Okay.
So I'm gonna get a list of those. Unfortunately, it's in our code, so
It's in our code to allow a solicitor. If we don't approve this resolution, then she can't do it.
It should be solicited
not.
without a permit.
So this, in essence, approving this resolution provides Erica Rivera of Realty Empire a permit to,
solicit.
Within the confines
within
of
the confines of
the code.
the code. Yep.
In the code, can they put door hangers on, right? Is that in the code or?
I don't know what's in the code. As far as I know, it's to go around and ring people's doorbells, maybe put something in their mailbox.
You can put it in the mailbox.
No, you can't touch a mailbox.
Post office won't allow.
I
Yeah.
honestly, I don't know. I don't know if they can hang up.
I would like to table this, make a motion to table this until we get an explanation from her, what her intentions are.
Well, I think I think I'd like to know exactly what the code is and what
Yeah,
we're
the code as
doing,
well.
like what we're going to allow her to approve with this.
I'll send the code provision to everyone after the meeting.
Okay, and then we can vote on it.
I mean, I could send you the code.
I would like to know what her.
Yeah, so we have time to review the code
Yeah.
and then, so we'll table this. So there's a motion on the floor to table.
Yes, please.
Okay. We need a second then. I have a second to table this
Second.
resolution, second by Mr. Sparta. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. All right, this will be tabled until we have the code to review. Thank you. Moving on. Ordinance 2314, capital ordinance. May I have a motion to introduce ordinance 2314? Motion made by Mr. Tadrick, second. Oh, ordinance, I will second it. May I have a roll call vote? Yes.
Councilmember DeStacy,
No,
Councilmember Rizzuto,
Yes.
Councilmember Sparta,
I'm recused.
Councilmember Tadrick,
Yes.
Council President Bushieri.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Ordinance 2315, bond ordinance appropriating $2,861,000 and authorizing the issuance of $2,432,486 in bonds or notes of the township for various improvements or purposes authorized to be undertaken by the township of Vernon and the county of Sussex, New Jersey. May I have a motion to introduce ordinance 2315?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Tadrick. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Sparta. May I have a roll call vote?
Councilmember DeStacy,
no,
Councilmember Rizzuto,
Yes.
Councilmember Sparta.
Yes.
Councilmember Tadrick.
Yes.
Council President Bushieri.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Public comment. This public comment time is limited to 5 minutes on any topic. It does not have to be an agenda item. Please note, I'm sorry, this is limited to 5 minutes per person. May I have a motion to open the floor to public comment? Moved by Mr. Tadrick, may I have a second? Second by Mr. Sparta, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? The floor is open to the public. Feel free to come forward. Come to the second set. Yeah, the ones close. Those are not on, yeah, so.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ramel Dash. This is my business partner, Andrew Rivers.
Hi, everyone.
We're here seeking pretty much approval and an introduction of our business Modern Leaf. We are a licensed cannabis retailer, conditionally approved by NJCRC. And pretty much we wanted to come out, introduce ourselves. We met pretty much, we've been in healthcare for over 10 years. We met answering the call for the pandemic, where we actually were the first responders providing test and trace. And that's when we decided to come together because we have a long tenure of the war on drugs as well as opioid use and fighting that pandemic. So really wanted to find a holistic approach with doing so. And with doing that, we really are here just asking for somewhat of a blessing as we are trying to come to this township here, as we have 2 proposed locations that we're looking at within the approved ordinances here for the code. So that's pretty much why we're here today. Thank you.
Thank you.
I can pretty much introduce myself, like I'm at school. My name's Andrea. I'm a nurse practitioner. I'm a former ER nurse. I was an ER nurse for 10 years at Chilton Memorial Hospital, which I'm sure all of you are familiar with. And I also certify patients for medicinal marijuana as well. And I think Mel spoke a little bit about, how we met and where we met. We worked collaboratively in New York City, in the Bronx, helping to assist, providing healthcare to the hardest hit communities. And pretty much our mission is to assist in breaking down stigmas associated with cannabis while attempting to right the injustice of the war on drugs. And that's pretty much, and obviously I'm a lifelong New Jersey resident. I've lived in Wayne my whole life. I think I've been coming up here my entire whole life. And now I bring my kids here, summer, fall, winter, Mountain Creek, we're pumpkin picking, and this has been, synonymous with fun in my family for as long as I can remember. And now my children's as well. And I just wanted to introduce ourselves and who we are and what we represent, and that we are seeking a retail class 5 cannabis license once we find the appropriate and designated spot.
So you said you had a license already or a additional license?
Correct. So we're conditionally approved through the state.
These aren't the same people, but I'm just curious now that they brought it up. What does that all mean?
So once, I'm sorry.
No, because this came up to me on a land use board issue
Okay.
just this morning. And they came and said they had a provisional license and I was under the understanding you couldn't get a provisional license unless you already got an approval from the town.
Okay.
So they like reverse engineering the whole,
First, okay,
the whole.
Change that.
Correct.
okay.
So the state pretty much approved us, then it's like you have to go out and find our home.
Gotcha.
Sense.
Yes, that's what they give it to you conditionally for. They allow you 165 days
Okay,
unless you had received it prior to submitting your application.
okay,
So then you go before municipalities and wherever you're choosing or wherever is, I should say, it's
Okay.
allowed to happen. And that's the conditional part of it.
gotcha.
Once we seek approval and a municipality gives us that approval, we submit that to the NJCRC.
Gotcha.
And they see that it's been zoned appropriately, that we have, the town's approval, et cetera, et cetera.
Right, and if you got approved, quote unquote, the letter of acceptance, whatever you want to call it, then you'd have to go to land use board, correct?
That would be dependent upon your municipality
That's
regulation.
good.
I honestly don't.
You would be an approved business and you would go to the land use board like any other.
Right, because it's a non-conforming use in Vernon. It's a not approved, it's a non-conforming use under land use law.
Okay,
It has to be approved for use
Yeah,
in a certain location.
right, in that specific location, yeah. What this does, what the state has changed now is that essentially what was happening is that when municipalities voted to opt in.
Right.
Some of those councils changed. And some of those council members, if they were on the council at the time that municipality chose to opt in, they would not have voted for it. But the council had already voted for it. So essentially what they were doing was denying individuals resolutions to keep them from moving forward.
And yeah, this was my argument in the past. Since we opted in, you're kind of stuck in that
Yeah.
5-year period. of
But they were denying them. And so essentially what the state was saying, that's holding them up from implementing what the state wants to do.
Gotcha.
So now individuals can go and get licensed and they can literally shop. They can shop at any town where
Right.
they've opted in.
Okay,
So
yeah,
what they're simply saying is that they want to use their license here in Vernon. So you'll have to find a location that's fits our ordinance and everything. And then once that happens, when you find a location, you can come to my office and I can determine to tell you with my tax assessor whether or not it fits the ordinance. Because I won't recommend to the council that they pass any resolution for any location that does not fit the ordinance, must first fit the ordinance. Yeah.
Yes, no, we've been in contact with the zoning office with 2 proposed locations because you're actually looking to reinvest in the community.
Yeah.
Purchase the space, and give back to the community and things of that nature as well. So I appreciate that. And
have you looked at any locations in town yet?
we have 2 proposed. I don't have no off the top of my head.
One is one by the Dollar General by any chance?
Yes,
It is, okay.
I
It's
I just looked at that actually last
Right, and-
Thursday.
and that's the old, you were in the zoning board office today?
No,
No, you weren't, okay.
I was at work.
I mean, I know the New York City, I mean, I work in the city a lot.
It's been a little bit, I mean, I've been pausing the timer, but maybe we can, once you have a
Yeah.
location, you're more than welcome to make a presentation.
Okay.
And because we could go on like.
No, that's
for a
fine,
while,
but
right? Like-
that was the question I had, is you're the second person that said they had a provisional or conditional
Yeah.
license, and the attorney and I spoke about it, and we didn't know that they changed. I didn't know they changed.
No, I didn't have.
Yeah.
Okay,
The change, the state really, as I always say that,
Fitting.
this is like flying an airplane and.
Build it at the same time.
Do I want to be on that airplane?
no,
No.
Okay,
No.
he said it. I didn't say it.
I,
He
hey,
said it.
Thank you.
No, I didn't.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
oh, we got the question answered.
It's, I know who you mean. It's-
Oh, okay.
Is there anyone else in the public that has a comment in person? Nope. Any virtual comments? Yes, Mark Heffler. Okay, Mr. Heffler?
Yes, good evening, Council President, council members, Mayor. As always, I thank you for your service. I was cautiously optimistic in seeing council member procedures on the agenda for this evening. I was cautious because there were a number of ordinances included in the agenda that relate to the topic, so it could have been on for some unanticipated reason, like getting rid of Zoom altogether, apparently. But I was optimistic because I had hoped the council would address the troubling issue of ordinance number 22-15 selective non-enforcement over these past few months. That ordinance was adopted August 22nd, 2022, less than a year ago. At the time, I thought it appeared politically motivated against the two members of the council who both frequently voted in the minority and regularly appeared via Zoom. The actions of the council following the passage of the ordinance and the astonishing comments from the council on it this evening have only reinforced that conclusion, especially Councilmember Rizzuto's comments, who happily architected that ordinance to bring the other council members into the building. But now that his appointee is on the council, everyone just shrugs their shoulders. You know, there's no enforcement mechanism, everyone seems to say. Well, that just goes to show how short-sighted and ineffectual the ordinance was. It's really not something to be proud of. Now, Mr. Zelinski, I think Mr. Stasi's question was not well stated or was perhaps misunderstood. The issue is not whether Zoom votes are permissible in general, but what happens when a member appears at a meeting in violation of the ordinance? Now, I would think it could open the vote up to collateral attack if the non-conforming member was the deciding vote. I'm not looking for an answer to that question, but it's certainly something that's been on my mind. From the actions of the council, one thing looks clear. You know, we hold our political adversaries to different standards than our political appointees and apply the law differently as we choose. That is not a substitute for good governance, and we should all worry when we see the rule of law fail in our town and our own council ignore their own laws at will. I thank you all again for your service.
Good luck in your candidacy.
Thank you.
Are there any other virtual comments, Marcy? Yes, Jessica Palladini. Mrs. Palladini?
Yes, hi again. I have to say, it's a little bit disturbing to see the council postpone voting on resolutions because they don't know what the code is. I would think they would know the code, but an easy fix for that would be that when the clerk puts the resolution on the agenda, she attaches for you the code. It doesn't look right that you don't vote on something because you don't even know what the code is. Just want to say something. I don't want to get into it too deeply or in depth because I still have some pending Oprah requests to the state. But there is a councilwoman who is overstepping her authority and possibly even acting in conflict by using her position to contact individuals about litigation the council is in. For example, contacting Deputy Attorney General Matthew Knobloch, contacting receivers in litigation such as James Rothschild, contacting the DEP. It's one thing when you're a private citizen, and I don't really care who the defendant is, whether or not that defendant is guilty or innocent or whatever. This is not about the character of the individuals, but it's about a councilwoman who's overstepping her authority, and not just overstepping her authority and using her position unilaterally and individually in these matters, but contacting individuals in matters of litigation. She should not be doing that at all. She's no longer Sally Q. Public. She's now an elected official, and she can't just run roughshod and do these things. But you might want to look into that. And as I said, once I get all of the Oprah back, I'll be able to speak to it a little bit more clearly. But there are clearly people that are overstepping their boundaries and don't understand municipal government and don't understand their role in municipal government. And that's really all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. McClackery? Mr. McClackery?
Wow, you're getting close. First name Tom, last name McClackery.
I said it right. I said it right.
This is about bonding as per usual. I think all bonding over $1 million should go out to the public so they can vote on it. And as you read the bond ordinance or bond ordinance, you notice that it goes out to about 12 years. You will also notice that you're bonding out for a number of pieces of equipment that are not going to last 12 years. And it just displays, I don't know, poor financial planning. That being said, all bonding over $1 million out to the public. And thank you. Have a good night.
George Nasanaro. Mr. Nakanaro.
Nikonarov. It's Nikonarov.
Nakanaro, sorry.
Thank you. Yeah. Good evening. I wasn't going to talk tonight, but I'd like to talk about council meeting procedures. And quite frankly, I'm very disappointed at the council for what the discussion has happened, as well as their disregard for why this ordinance was passed. And obviously, taking aside the political ramifications, I watched that council meeting and I watched it with great interest when that ordinance was introduced, and it was clear as to what the purpose of the ordinance was. If you and to quote verbatim, if you're doing more, you can't do more than 2 Zoom meetings a year. You have one council member, Councilman Tadrick, who has. And
Yep.
look, with all due respect, taking your tone and your etiquette aside from the council meeting, which I've watched.
I'm not getting a feeling of respect from you, Mr. Nekarokov. To be
Nikonarov.
honest with you, whatever.
Yeah, and the feeling's mutual, quite frankly, because
and that's
every time
fine.
I see you on this council meeting, you're arguing with everybody else.
Why don't you come
Asking
here
simple
in person?
questions.
Why don't
I'm
you
sorry?
come here in person?
Because simply put, I work 10 hours a day. I'm
Good
still
for you.
working right now. And this is why I use Zoom meetings. All right. So you have to do one of two things. You either fix the ordinance or you enforce it. It's as simple as that. But you can't have both. Okay. And Mr. Tadrick, do yourself a favor. Don't run for office.
I'm not.
Good.
I
Because
already announced I wasn't running.
good. Because quite
So you should
frankly,
run, Mr. Nikarokov, or whatever your name is.
Nikonarov,
Nikonarov, you should run. I suggest that people like you should run and you should sit up here. It's easy to sit from, I will.
This is his 5 minutes.
Hold this 5 minutes, hold this time.
I think we should just let him.
I think people like you should run for office and sit up here. Very easy
You're
to
not
sit
the
at
first
home and
person to say
shoot at people. Go for it.
you're not the first person to say it. And
Right.
I've considered it. I'm not doing it this time, but I'm going to reserve that for the future.
Okay.
But the bottom line is that you pass an ordinance. We know what the purpose is. Go back to the meeting that you passed it in and rewatch it. All right. Thank you.
Any other? Yes, Ann Larson. Mrs. Larson?
Good evening. I hope you can hear me. Ann Larson. Thank you for taking the time to let me chat for a moment. I would like to say thank you, a huge thank you to Mr. Tadrick for the help that he has offered to the taxpayers ever since he took that seat. I'm sorry you won't be running again. And I have to say, you're leaving very big footprints that have to be filled by the person who takes your position. So on behalf of many of us, thank you very much. And I realize that it's not easy making these meetings, when you have career pulling you in different directions. So thank you in that respect. Secondly, I wanted to touch upon the flag ordinance. I was going to request that we hang the Right to Life flag for the month of June at the municipal building. Apparently, I'm not sure who is aware, but there was I guess a Supreme Court ruling, Shurtleff versus the city of Boston, not too long ago, and they ruled in favor that if any personal flags or personal private, flags are flown, that all must be flown. So since we had the pride flag last year, I would like to request the Right to Life flag to be flown for the month of June. I'll be happy to provide one. I know someone else offered to provide one, but I'll be happy to provide it. And I'd like to thank you for that consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I make a point of correction?
Yes, I was gonna, but you
I'm
can.
sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Ken.
We did not pass an ordinance last year to fly any flag.
Okay, well,
That was,
all right.
that was a decision faced by the mayor.
Okay.
And.
Well, well, we did
display-
have quite a display in the
a
lobby. So
display-
I'd like a
a
right
dis-
to life in the lobby.
A display was made, but the town council was not involved in that.
Gotcha. You're probably right. I do apologize for that. But in
That's
that
okay.
respect, then maybe we should put our right to life flag and have a whole display in the lobby. That would be wonderful.
I guess you can reach out to the mayor, I'm sure about
Yeah.
that.
I'll do that.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Thanks for hearing
Thank
me.
you. Is there anyone else, Marcy?
I don't have any other hands up.
All right, seeing no other members of the public wishing to come forward, may I have a motion to close public comment, please? Motion made by Mr. Stassi, may I have a second? Second by Mr. Tadrick, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Public comments closed. Next agenda item is mayor comments.
Thank you, Council President Bucieri. Since 1960, the American Public Workers Association has sponsored National Public Works Week. National Public Works Week is observed during the third full week of May, and it is observed for the purpose of recognizing the importance of public works in an organized society. This year, it is taking place during May the 15th through the 21st. This week-long observance also sheds light on the brave and essential role that public works employees play in our lives. Public works and public workers are in fact an indispensable part of any developed society. And that is especially true for Vernon Township's outstanding Department of Public Works. They play a critical role in our ongoing efforts to make Vernon an even better place to live and to raise a family. As mayor, I know firsthand how important and indispensable our Department of Public Works is to the daily functioning of our town. Like all of Vernon Township, I have a great degree of respect and appreciation for DPW Department Head, Mr. Ed Babcock, for the individual who does so much to make the DPW operation work smoothly. That is Office Manager, Mrs. Jean Tudorlo, as well as the entire hardworking DPW team. And it is my honor to remember, to recognize, and to thank all of them during this National Public Works Week observance. Although the new Town Center Park has been open for only approximately 7 months, it has become the Vernon Municipal Park that has attracted the largest number of visitors of any park in our town's 3 municipal park center during this 7 months period. Without a doubt, the key reason for this level of attraction is the existence of the beautiful, scenic, and state-of-the-art town center pump track. This pump track has been embraced enthusiastically by both those who enjoy the sport and or recreational activity of bicycling, and those parents, guardians, friends, and others who get satisfaction from just sitting and watching their children, their grandchildren, their friends, and others enjoying this unique bicycle sport and recreational activity. This embracement of the Town Center Park pump track by a whole host of individuals has been expressed in part by, number one, the financial sponsorship of the cost of the various signage around and in the park, which has saved our town many taxpayer-provided dollars. Number two, the donation of 2 memorial park benches that serve as good spots for Town Center Park visitors to rest, to relax, to read, and or just simply sit and enjoy the beautiful views of Vernon that are available from the Town Center pump track. And I'm very pleased to add that my wife Reba and I, plus former council member Mike Fury and his wife Naomi, donated the first 2 of what I anticipate will be several more memorial park benches to our new Town Center Park. By number 3, the donation of items and equipment that has enhanced the usability and the user experience and enjoyment of the pump track. For example, the Sussex Bike and Sports Shop donated two 10-feet galvanized steel bike storage racks that have been mounted at the pump track. Each of these top quality racks have the capability of storing 18 bicycles. The Sussex Bike and Sports Shop also donated a state-of-the-art weathable outdoor park tire bike pump with a gauge. These items have also been mounted at the pump track. Diamond Cycle of Montclair, New Jersey, which is owned by a Vernon resident, donated a state-of-the-art, what is called a park tool railhead workstation, which is a workstation that has all of the key tools that bike riders may need to help them to repair their bikes on the spot and quickly get back to enjoying the pump track. A host of Vernon residents have donated picnic tables, which help to make what is already a family comfortable and family-friendly facility, an even better place that families will desire to come to and enjoy. And a prominent Vernon resident has expressed a strong desire to donate a flagpole from which we will be able to fly our nation's flag. This donation will be coming very soon this year. However, the key reason that I have made donations to our new town center pump track, the subject of part of my comments tonight, is to offer special words of thanks and appreciation to our most recent contributor to the pump track. And that is Mr. Christian Wolski, an Eagle Scout who is a member of Boy Scouts of America Troop 36 in Long Valley, New Jersey. For his Eagle Scout project, Christian chose to build a storage shed at the town center pump track. Let me briefly share with you some of the pertinent comments from Christian's Eagle Scout project narrative. In his narrative, Christian said, and I quote, "My name is Christian Woolsey, and I am a senior at West Morris Central High School in Chester, New Jersey. I am a scout. I wanted to help the community where I do a significant amount of my bike riding by building a tool shed for my Eagle Scout project. The shed will allow the town to store maintenance supplies and equipment and will also enable the park to ultimately get electrical service to the area. This is a great benefit to the riding community of which I am a part, and I hope to the township of Vernon," end of quote. On behalf of the residents of Vernon, I congratulate Mr. Christian Wolski for achieving the significant and prestigious honor of being named an Eagle Scout. And I thank him for his kind and useful contribution of a shed to the town center pump track and to the people of Vernon. Ms. Council President, that ends my comments for tonight.
Mr. Mayor. I'll go to council comments. Start, what's the last time? Patrick, comments?
What I like to say, but I'm not going to.
Okay. Mr. Sparta?
I just want to publicly wish my wife a happy 55th birthday today.
You have to say the age?
I absolutely. So it's not the first time that I've missed her birthday because of a board meeting or something like that. So
Could have zoomed.
You owe her a particularly
I do.
expensive.
Yeah,
Happy birthday, Robin.
that's all I have.
And I'll say happy birthday, Robin, too. I want to thank committee for all the work they've done in town with all the plannings and everything. Everything looks really beautiful. And also thank Christian and congratulate him. That's all.
You. Mr. Rizzuto?
Yes. As we move into the latter part of spring, very soon we will see our littlest ones on the streets playing. We just ask that take extra special care to avoid any problems in terms of automobile accidents, God forbid. So please be careful, moderate your speed. And secondly, I received a very kind invitation from Mayor Burrell to march in the upcoming Memorial Day Parade. Please extend my regrets to the veterans, far and I won't be able to be there. I had a previously scheduled event. And so thank them very much And besides that, I just don't know if the old legs would still hold it.
You supported this.
Well, I certainly would. But either way, I'd be at the end.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. I do plan on attending. I appreciate that. I think, not every town has a Memorial Day parade, and I think that's really something special in Vernon that we do honor those who have sacrificed, made the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom. So I think it's a special thing, and I'm honored to be included in that, and with my fellow council members and the mayor and you. It is a nice, a very nice and respectful observance of the day. I also wanted to just comment on our volunteers. We had a significant fire in our town a couple of days ago, a complete structure fire, and thankfully all the family members were able to get out of the home. They did lose their dog, which is just a heartbreak. But thankfully we do have great volunteers in our town that were able to contain the fire, put it out. We also have a lot of really giving people in our town. I know that just hearing from community members, tons of donations of clothing items and things were, I think, provided to the family, and a GoFundMe was started. So it's just in the midst of such a tragic event. It is heartwarming and makes us proud to be in this community where so many reach out to others that they don't even know in such a time of loss. So it makes you proud to be in Vernon and to be part of a community where there's volunteers and those willing to give. So I just wanted to acknowledge our volunteers and all the community members that are helping that family, and pray that they can, get insurance moving quickly and have a place to live and get that going. And may I have a motion to adjourn?
Move second.
Okay, moved by Sparta, second by Tadrick. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No, and we are adjourned. Thank you.
Very good.
Yeah.
Have a good evening, Mayor.
Presentation. Thank you.